Hello, in this video I will show you how to use reset properties here. If you are not going to demolish your object, this is all you will see. But if you will set demolition type to other than none, it will show you more properties. For now, I just want to show you how to reset transform. So basically, if you are not going to demolish your object, here I have this mesh object, then I have this mesh root object with a bunch of fragments, and then there's connected cluster. You can reset all transformation of your simulated objects by clicking this reset rigid component or using this public reset rigid method in Rayfire Rigid script. So all you need to do, just click reset rigid or use this public method and object will get back to its position. The same you can do for this mesh root object. And in this case, I'm using simulation type dynamic, so this is why they start crumbling right away. But you can change simulation type to, let's say, inactive, reset, and it will be inactive this time, so I will need to activate it. So this is how you can reset transform of your simulated objects. In the same way, you can reset your damage if this property in reset is enabled. So make sure that you use demolition type other than none, otherwise damage will not be collected. And then if I will start simulate my object now, you can see my collect collision property enabled. So I'm start increasing current damage when object collides, the same for this connected cluster. So you can see there's this damage here. So I can reset my rigid component and it will reset its transform and damage as well. Next, connectivity reset is available if you use connectivity component with measured object type. Here's my example here. On the left side, I'm using this structure, prefragmented column with connectivity unyielding component, measured object type, but I disabled connectivity here. On the right example, I enabled it. And connectivity allows you to maintain connections among your fragments. So if you start simulating them, fragments that are not connected with bottom part here, you can see there are these red unyielding fragments. So upper fragments, if they won't see any connections, they will be turned to dynamic objects. And if I will try to reset my transform for all these fragments right now, you can see it reset transform, but it also says here that connections cannot be restored because connectivity reset was disabled. As you can see, it doesn't restore connections because this is how they should look like. And on the right example, I enabled. So if I will start simulate again this, you can see there is no any connections anymore, and upper fragments cannot be turned to dynamic object now. At this right example, I can do the same. But this time, if I will select this measured object type, click reset, it will reset all connections as well. So I can do this again. This property is disabled by default because it will take some memory if you enable it. So if you are not going to reset your connectivity structures, then do not enable it. But if you will enable it, keep in mind that it will take more memory because it will need to store all connections for every structure. If you use demolition type other than none, then you can see this demolition reset properties here. So first property here is action, and it allows you to define what you want to do with your object after it will be demolished. For rock on the left, I use destroy with delay, and it means that after object will be demolished, it will be deactivated, and after 1 second, you can change this time using this destroy delay property. So after 1 second, it will be completely destroyed in scene. For the right one, I'm using deactivate to reset. It means that object will be deactivated, but it will stay in scene, deactivated, and you will be able to reset it at any moment. So here you can see object was in hierarchy for a second, and now it completely destroyed. You cannot reset it anyhow. For this one, I'm using deactivate to reset. And you can see the subject stays in hierarchy here. It's deactivated, but you can click reset and demolish it again. In the same way it works for connected cluster. For this left one, I'm using destroy with delay. And you can see that I completely destroyed this cluster here. I cannot reset it anyhow. For this one, I'm using deactivate to reset. And in this case, it will store all these connections in memory, so it will be possible to reset them later. Keep this in mind. If you are not going to deactivate your connected cluster, do not use this property, otherwise you will just waste your memory space. You can see it was demolished, but it stayed in the scene, so I can reset it and demolish again. In case you demolish mesh object in runtime and you definitely going to reset this object and use deactivate to reset, then you can reuse these fragment meshes. So for this first column, I set it to destroy, and it means that after I will reset the subject after its demolition, and it will be demolished second time and third time. Every time it will have to generate all these fragment meshes again and again, and this is pretty resourceful process. In some cases, you actually may need this, like in case you use this contact bias property, because with contact bias it will create new fragments, depends on the collision. But if you are okay with your fragments being the same every time, then you can use this reuse fragment meshes here. Now let me show you. And as you can see, I'm using this high value of amount for fragments. It means that there will be frame per second drop when object will be demolished. And this is how I want to show you difference. Take a notice, when the stroke will demolish this column, there will be frame per second drop. And as you can see, every time I demolish it, every time I reset objects and demolish, I'm getting the same frame per second drop. And now I will do the same with this one. First time I will demolish this column, I will get the same frame per second drop. But every second and other demolitions, you can see it much smoother. And this is because all these fragment meshes was not destroyed but reused again and again. In this case, it will only have to create new game objects and apply these fragment meshes. Don't have to refragment object every time. It is possible to reuse not only meshes but fragments as well. And in this case, it will store this game objects hidden under Rayfire Manager, and then when object will be demolished second time, it will just reveal these fragments, and you will not need to waste resources to generate all these game objects and components again and again. So first property here is destroy, and just like with mesh destroy, it will destroy everything, and when you will demolish your object second time, it will have to create all these fragments again. So here you can see this frame per second drop every time. In this case, it has to destroy these fragments, and when I reset object, and then create game objects again. On this example, I'm using preserve, and it means that object will be reset, but fragments will stay in scene. So if I will reset my object now, these fragments will stay. For this one, I'm using this fragment reuse property here. And here you can see, first time there was frame per second drop, but every time I will reset this object, it will be completely smooth. So if I will pause it, I can go to this Rayfire storage fragments. And here you can see these fragments which will be stored here. So now they're waiting for second and other demolitions, and they will simply swap with the original object. So in this case, you can create demolition only once when it will take some time to process and generate all these fragments. But then you will get completely smooth demolition even if you use high amount of fragments. And for this one, I want to show you how to reuse fragment meshes, reuse fragments with this advanced runtime caching. In this case, I am using runtime caching and I'm using skip first. And again, I'm using high amount of fragments. Since I'm using skip first property, I can initiate demolition using this button or inside code using demolish method. Here you can see it cached all these fragment meshes. Now, when I will demolish my object first time, even the first time will be fast enough because all fragment meshes already cached. But then when I will reset it, it will be even faster because now it simply reuse all these fragments again and again. So in this way, you can create high amount of fragments in runtime and do not get any frame per second drop.